Listen, y'all, some mornings the news hits you like a cold splash of water. You wake up, grab your phone, and the headline is louder than your alarm. Israel struck targets in Qatar. Now, before we go any further, let me say this plain. I'm not here to fan flames or pick sides. I'm here to pull principles out of the mess, because when the world shakes, you gotta find your footing fast. So why would Israel strike in Qatar? Reports say the target was Hamas leadership based in Doha. In the language of power, that's called sending a message. In the language of people, that's called raising the stakes. And when stakes go up, consequences move in. That's true in geopolitics, and it's true in your living room. Let me break it down the way I understand life. When every action is a headline, but the fine print is people. Leaders see maps, missions, and metrics, but a mama in Doha or Gaza doesn't see that. She sees glass on the sidewalk and fear in her child's eyes. Don't ever get so strategic that you forget the human beings on the other end of your strategy. In your life, when you swing hard at a coworker, a friend, a spouse, remember somebody's paying for that impact who didn't throw the first punch. 2, if you bring your fight into somebody else's house, you change the whole neighborhood. Qatar's been a go-between, hosting talks, bridging gaps. You take the fight to the middleman's front yard, and now the whole block gets nervous. In your life, the moment you drag your beef into a shared space, family group chat, office Slack, church foyer, you just turned a 2-person problem into a community crisis. Handle conflict with wisdom, because location matters. Free power without wisdom is a wrecking ball. You can be right about a threat and still be wrong about a response. Strength is not just the ability to strike, it's the discipline to choose when not to. In your house, at your job, with your platform, if your only tool is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Get you some pliers, a level, and a little patience. 4, don't this confuse speed for progress. Fast moves get headlines. Wise moves change outcomes. Retaliation can feel like relief. It's quick, it's loud, it says, we ain't playing. But peace is picky. It only shows up when courage meets restraint. Same in your life. You can clap back in 10 seconds, or you can plan a response that changes the next 10 years. Choose the decade over the moment. 5 bridges take years to build and seconds to burn. Qatar's been a bridge, talks, mediation, back channel calls. You hit near a bridge, you risk the crossing. Your future needs bridges too, mentors, friendships, trust. Don't torch the folks who help you connect just to win today's argument. Protect your connectors, you'll need them when your pride cools and your purpose calls. 6, when the room is loudest, listen for the quiet. In war, the quiet voice is the grandmother praying, the medic patching wounds, the negotiator texting at 3 a.m., the father telling his kid you're safe even when he ain't sure. In your life, when social media screams and your emotions clap cymbals, find the quiet. That's usually where the truth is sitting, patient, humble, and ready to help. 7 facts. First, feelings next, then faith. Everybody's got a tape. Few got the facts, fewer still add faith. If you want to be part of the solution, move in that order, learn what happened, own how you feel, then ask God how to move. That sequence will save you relationships, jobs, and on the world stage, lives. 8, leadership is answering to tomorrow, not just today. Any leader can win a news cycle. Great leaders invest in tomorrows they may never get credit for. That's what I want from the folks with the power. Protect civilians, respect sovereignty, keep doors open for hostages to come home and kids to grow up. It ain't soft, it's strategic. Because if you slam every door, don't act surprised when hope can't find its way back in. 9, you can set bomb your way to trust. You can force silence, but trust is a volunteer. It shows up only when it feels safe. Nations need trust. Families need trust. Teams need trust. Don't just aim for victory. Aim for a future where your kids don't inherit your grudges. 10, what can we do? Refuse to cheer for pain. If a video of somebody's worst day makes you smile, check your heart. Verify before you share. Lies travel faster than missiles. Don't be a delivery driver for deception. Pressure your leaders wherever you live to protect civilians and push for real talks with real timelines. Pray like outcomes depend on God and work like outcomes depend on you. Let me talk to the peacemakers for a second. The diplomats, the journalists, the relief workers, the counselors, the moms with 3 jobs raising world changers. Y'all are the quiet heroes. Keep going. History remembers the fireworks, but destiny remembers the folks who cleaned up after and said, we ain't living like this forever. And to anybody feeling overwhelmed today, don't let the world's chaos cancel your calling. You still got a purpose. You still got people who need your smile, your skill, your steady hand. Be the neighbor who checks on folks. Be the coworker who de-escalates. Be the friend who says, let's not fight like that. Let's talk. I believe this peace is not passive. It's work. It's guts. It's choosing conversation over humiliation and futures over headlines. Whether you're a nation with jets or a dad with a minivan, the same rule applies. The strongest move is the one that protects the most lives and preserves the most hope. So yeah, the world sits loud today, but we can answer loud with clear, calm, and courageous. Let sis be the generation that learns from every blast that shakes the skyline and says, never again, not just in words, but in how we live. Faith over fear, wisdom over impulse, bridges over bravado. That's how we move from breaking news to building news. News about healing, homecomings, and hope. Now let me leave you with this, because after all the talking, all the noise, all the chaos, what really matters is what we take away and what we do tomorrow morning. History ain't a story in some dusty book. It's the choices being made right now while people are trying to figure out how to keep food on the table and hope in their homes. And when you see nations clashing, leaders posturing, bombs flying across borders, you got to stop for a second and ask yourself, what does this mean for me, for my family, for the way I live my life? Because whether you realize it or not, the lessons of war are the same as the lessons of living. Only the scale is bigger, the consequences heavier, but the principles don't change. Here's one truth that never fails. You cannot let anger be your permanent driver. When anger takes the wheel, it doesn't matter how fast you go, you're bound to crash. Nations fueled by fury will always spiral into destruction, and individuals consumed by rage will burn bridges they'll wish they still had. Think about the last time you lost it at somebody you love. You said something you couldn't take back, didn't you? You slammed the door when you should have asked a question, and later on you thought, man, that didn't fix a thing. Multiply that by missiles, by soldiers, by international politics, and you see why revenge never heals. It only spreads the wound. But just because you feel the heat doesn't mean you have to live in the fire. Strength is not about swinging harder. It's about standing steady when everything around you is shaking. The loudest person in the room isn't the strongest. The strongest is the one who can quiet the room without raising his voice. That applies in your household, in your job, in your community, and yes, on the global stage. The mark of real leadership isn't domination, it's direction. Anybody can flex power. Few can guide hearts. We live in a time where people celebrate being quick to post, quick to cancel, quick to clap back, quick to fight. But quick doesn't mean wise. Quick can get you in trouble. Quick can turn a small misunderstanding into a lifetime feud. Quick can make you lose trust faster than you built it. Slow down. Sit with the problem. Ask deeper questions because wisdom ain't born in speed. It grows in patience. Look at the great peacemakers in history. They weren't tweeting insults. They were sitting at tables, listening longer than they spoke, digging for solutions. Most people thought impossible. Another lesson, pain has a ripple, but so does kindness. When you strike, the damage keeps spreading through neighborhoods, through families, through generations. But when you extend compassion, when you decide to hold your tongue, when you choose to make room for dialogue instead of destruction, that ripple carries further than you'll ever see. Somebody will sleep better because you showed restraint. Somebody will breathe easier because you picked patience over pride. Somebody will believe peace is possible because you lived it in your own small way. Don't underestimate that. See, the world keeps trying to tell us that toughness is about showing teeth, flexing muscle, and proving you're not to be messed with. But I've learned toughness is holding yourself together when everything inside you wants to fall apart. Toughness is biting your tongue when you could slice somebody with your words. Toughness is keeping your dignity intact when disrespect knocks on your door. That's not weakness, that's discipline. And that discipline is the same thing nations need if we're ever going to stop headlines filled with smoke and start printing stories filled with hope. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm not naive. I know the world ain't fair. I know enemies exist. I know threats are real. I know sometimes you've got to defend, to protect, to stand your ground. But even in defense, there's a choice: defend to save lives, or defend to feed pride. Defend to protect the future, or defend to prove you're right. Those are not the same things. Leaders and regular folks alike have to ask, am I moving us closer to peace or just deeper into pain? Every war reminds us of this. Children always pay the heaviest price. They didn't choose the conflict, but they inherit the consequences. Their schools closed, their homes shake, their nights filled with fear. And if you've ever looked into the eyes of a child trembling from something they don't understand, you know it carves a scar deeper than any map line or border. That should humble every person with power, from presidents to parents. Whatever fight you're in, ask yourself, what story am I writing for the kids who didn't choose this? Because they will grow up carrying either the weight of your anger or the blessing of your wisdom. And don't think for 1 second that peace is the easy way out. No, peace is heavy work. Peace requires imagination, sacrifice, persistence. Peace doesn't make you weak. It makes you brave enough to risk misunderstanding for the sake of harmony. Anybody can throw a punch, but it takes guts to extend a hand when you know the other person might slap it away. That's the type of courage we need in boardrooms, in marriages, in politics, in pulpits. Courage to choose construction over destruction. So what can you and I actually do while governments clash and headlines scare us? Start local. Start daily. Don't underestimate your circle of influence. You've got the power to change the atmosphere around you. Be the one who stops gossip before it ruins someone. Be the one who listens when everyone else is talking. Be the one who bridges two people who won't look each other in the eye. Be the one who teaches your kids that respect isn't optional. It's essential. That's how cultures change. One choice, one household, one conversation at a time. And let me tell you this, never forget the role of faith. Faith is what lets you see possibility in the middle of impossibility. Faith reminds you that even when bombs fall and buildings crumble, there's still a God who sits higher than every throne on earth. Faith whispers that tomorrow can look different than today. Faith gives strength to people who have no reason left to believe in strength. When nations forget faith, they chase power like it's the answer. When individuals forget faith, they chase approval like it's oxygen. But when you root yourself in something bigger than you, you stop panicking over every storm. You start walking steady, even when the ground shakes. And here's the final thing I'll say, the thing I want you to hold in your chest when you walk out of here. We are not powerless. We may not sit in presidential palaces, but we sit at dinner tables, in classrooms, on buses, in churches, in offices. Those are stages too. And what you do on your stage either fuels the fire or plants the seeds. The words you speak either echo the noise of destruction or sing the melody of restoration. The choices you make either prove you're just another part of the chaos or you're determined to be part of the healing. If the world has taught us anything lately, it's that tomorrow is not guaranteed and peace is not automatic. It takes watchfulness, responsibility, and constant recommitment. Don't wait for leaders on TV to be the only voices calling for restraint, for justice, for mercy. Be that voice where you stand. Influence doesn't start at the top. It starts wherever you're willing to open your mouth with courage and consistency. So as this chapter of conflict unfolds, don't let the heaviness harden your heart. Let it sharpen your sense of purpose. Let it push you to treat your neighbor better, to teach your children wisely, to live your faith loudly, to use your influence carefully. Because one day, when the dust clears and historians write down what happened, they won't just record the missiles and the meetings. They'll record whether ordinary people like you and me chose to stay bitter or chose to build better. Choose better, live better, speak better, be better. That's the real victory. That's how we end not just a battle, but the cycle that keeps birthing battles. And when you lay your head down at night, you'll know you didn't just watch the news. You answered it with a life that reflects peace, justice, and unshakable hope.